To Soulfood Top Up here on the 12th of October. Many happy returns to my friend Martin. So today's conversation has been coming to me since this week, really. So many people might have experienced this week a lot of good morning and thank you for joining me. I'm just talking Soulfood Top Up, which is just an opportunity to speak intuitively from the heart, in order to encourage other people as well to do the same. So this week I've put on remembering who we are. So this morning I woke up with the I am sovereign. And I'm not going to really fully get into what that fully means, because I think I'm still wondering how that just came to me in the morning of I am sovereign. What does it mean to be sovereign? Well, it kind of ties into remembering who we are, and it also ties into building our foundations and illuminating our hearts. So it's all intertwined. So as I've mentioned many times, I feel like I mention it all the time, but maybe not, that we are sovereign. We are sovereign beings who, we are not our bodies. So this body that we have carries our soul, basically. And sometimes you can recognise that by, I remember when I was at University of Central Lancashire, it was Preston Polytechnic at the time, I remember doing social policy. And obviously when you go to university, you do a degree, you study books and philosophies and different theories. And I remember one of my lecturers, Joe Foster, saying to me, how do you know that information? So there was some information that I was sharing at the time in an assignment. And she said, how do you know that? And I'm not a massive reader. I like reading, but I don't really read a lot because I believe in remembering and trying to bring out our knowledge from within. Good morning, and I can't see there. Yeah, good morning. And I remember her saying that and wondering, well, where does this information come from? Well, I know that that information came from the soul. Our soul isn't a theory. Our soul is a presence. It's an essence of who we are that is not talked about very often. So we can experience so many things in life and not understand where they come from. And it's that inner being. So what I believe my passion is and my role in this, my purpose in this body, is to try and support the evolving of the human heart. And the way that I'm doing that is obviously through doing my little chats on a Saturday and my card reading on a Sunday. But also the biggest thing that I'm doing is helping people to tell their story. And the reason for that is because when we reach inside of ourselves to share words that have never, that there's no degree attached to them, there's no agenda attached to them other than sharing, just sharing in terms of illuminating our hearts. Because as we share our story, what we begin to do is break down the barriers that separate us, as Anthea, who's a black woman, who's English, who's or from England, who is just who's me, that my uniqueness against your uniqueness. So it's a real kind of, when we separate and remove who we think we are in terms of our identity, we then start tapping into a well, a reservoir that is just waiting for us to access that, which is called our soul spirit, our soul essence. It's what connects all of us as human beings, as we are spiritual beings. So we come from a different place, and that place is a place of sovereignty. And if we tap into our sovereignty, we remove all the barriers that separate us, we remove the differences. What we recognize is our similarities. And so that's been my goal, my passion from being a child. I'm just trying to see if I'm actually, from being very young, I've always wanted to bridge and bring people together. And being born in October as a balancer, as this justice, I totally get why I am so passionate about really raising the vibration within humanity and supporting that evolving spirit. Because many people at this moment in time is talking about enlightenment, And many people are thinking, how can I get to enlightenment? I've just been listening to a conversation. Good morning, thank you for joining me. I've been listening to a conversation about enlightenment and how do we become more enlightened? How do we become more being as opposed to doing? And the way that we do that is through illuminating the heart, is through being in that space of love, is through being in unconditional love. And so creating a space in order for that to happen, it means that we start letting go of all those filters that are stopping us from stepping up into our truth. And 2020 is going to be an amazing year for many people who are starting to realize that actually the doing isn't getting them any closer to being. As much as we've been taught, we've kind of like been hijacked. Our education system has been hijacked in many ways, but it's been hijacked in a good way, because what it's done, it's forced us into recognizing, hopefully there's an awakening that helps us to recognize that actually all the doing is never going to get you to the place of being. Thank you so much for sharing the love. I love it when the hearts go up there, because it's about resonating. If you resonate with what I'm saying, just not to see that. Oh, happy birthday. I missed your birthday, Myra. Oh, it's great to see you. Oh, I've missed you. I'm not in Preston anymore, so I'm not there. But it's great to see you. Oh, you had a fantastic day. So this illuminating the hearts is about people coming together and about sharing our stories. By sharing our stories, we actually start connecting closer to our hearts, and we start, and that enlightenment process, we start evolving as spiritual beings, which is who we are. We came here to have a human experience in order to be able to manifest, bring in that love energy of heaven, or whatever heaven means for you, onto earth. And so our education system, the way that it's been fantastic in many ways, because it's given us all the same kind of foundation, but it's also given us the opposite maybe of what we desire and what we maybe want to strive for. So our education system has taught us how to keep within a system. But imagine if a lot of people got together and just raised the vibration by holding space and sharing story. And that's where I'm so excited, because the I Am Spiritual Presence, which is the organization that I'm here to create, is about that. And I've just realized there's 195 countries in the world. And my goal is kind of, wow, if you had one person from each of those countries sharing their story and then sharing that strategy to duplicate with people, then we're going to get to a mass kind of energy, creating a mass energy that then pushes that energy of love into our world. Without a doubt, I've got no doubts whatsoever. So that's my goal. And really, before the end of this year, my goal is to empower as many people as I possibly can to tell the story, because what we're doing when we're telling our story is we're removing the filters. We're removing the filters of our mom or dad. We're actually taking responsibility for our own energies and for our own way of being. And when we start the process, because it's very structured, but it's structured in a way that it stops the ego mind from thinking, I can't do this. It helps you to build your confidence to think, actually, I need to tell my story. Everybody needs to tell their story. As much as people might not value their story, it's when we hold that space and we realize that everybody who comes in and shares their story is saying exactly the same thing. And that's what unites us and recognizes that oneness within all of us. So I really encourage you to find out more about how that works and how we do it. The aim is to do a kind of like teach the teacher, so or train the trainer, so to enable facilitators to go out there and to develop their part of the I Am Spiritual Presence. Because what we're doing is we're just taking hold. It's not about anybody saying, oh, what gives you the authority to do it. It's about being courageous. It's about being bold. It's about stepping up into wanting to create a different world than what we all entered into. So it really is about breaking down those barriers of difference by our eyes, from our eyesight. So it's about changing our eyesight into our heart sight so that we can see each other from our hearts by feeling. And that's what our world has been very much starved of, is our feelings. And so as we step into our divine feminine, and we're raising the divine feminine not just within women but within men as well, stepping into that divine feminine energy is more nurturing, it's more loving. But who's to say that we can't build that masculine energy of security and stability, So the intention is that we brought those two together. Had some amazing conversations yesterday just around how we work together. How do we work together? Many of us are isolated, many of us are lonely. A lot of the personal development and spiritual development is a very lonely journey in many ways, because it's a very inward journey. But the goal is to bring that inward journey out so that we can share with each other just how we are, who we are, so that it moves beyond, like I said, just that individual. It brings us into a collective. It brings us into that oneness. It brings us into unity. This isn't stuff that's taught at university or schools or colleges. This is stuff that is everyday life, that when you sit and reflect and wonder why the world is the way that it is, why is there so much destruction in our world, when reality is the majority of us don't want destruction. The talk that I was listening to this morning was about, imagine, the internet is amazing. The internet is going to transform our world without a doubt. As much as there are sad sides to the internet in terms of limiting our communication with each other, we can turn it around and to bring communication out so that we can still be engaged with each other across the world. I mean, 195 countries in the world, and we've got the opportunity to reach into every heart, which is just so exciting. It's going to take an army of us to step up into that place of trust. Our world's been broken down with trust. We don't trust each other. We don't trust anybody. We're kind of like fearful. But the reality is, unless we overcome that by stepping out and taking courageous steps and being bold, then we're always going to have what we've currently got. So the intention is, by the end of this year, is for people, if you're sat there thinking, actually, I want to change my life, or I want to do something different, or I want to work with other people, I want to find my family, I want to find my soul family that resonate with me, that allow me to be the truth of who I am, then reach out, because that's exactly what we are doing here. We're creating a family. And I'll just read out to you the I am presence, because this came to me yesterday, and I wasn't going to read this morning, but since it's sat here, I will do. So the I am presence, I mean, again, if you just say with this, if you're listening to this right now, if you're listening to the recording of it, then just hold space. If you're able to close your eyes and just feel into this. This is an invitation, and this is something that I'm going to be recording and sending out to people to invite them. In fact, I might just send them this video to invite them to help to create this space. It's a very simple strategy. You can see the boards behind. It's play and story. That's what it is. So the I Am Spiritual Presence is a franchise. It's a franchise because it's about pulling together a group of people and empowering them with the same tools. A place for evolving spiritual beings. A place to embrace the true essence of our being here on earth. A place to reset our truth. A place of remembrance. A place for truth to be spoken. A place for harmonious relationships with self and others. A place of tranquility, a place of nurturing the soul, a place for depth of conversation, a place of knowingness, a place of establishing solutions, a place for working through difference with enlightened thoughts and actions, a place for voices to be heard safely, a place where respect and love are entwined throughout the core of our togetherness, a place to be, a place that comes from within, a place we share openly, a place we create for the next generations, a place that you belong, a place to create, a place where you can leave your mark on the earth. If not now, when? If not you, who? Because this is your invitation, because I believe the world is ready. The question is, are you? Thank you for joining me this morning. I would love your feedback on these words of inspiration. And I'm back tomorrow with quantum healing, which is a card reading for a global card reading for the collective. And back next Saturday with Soulfood Top Up. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. And thank you so much for all the love and the hearts. I love. Much love to all of you. Bye for now.